Hi guys, this video is going to show you how to create a face morph to morph this guy's face into this guy's face. So we have a range of faces um, from white to Asian, and the faces in the middle will hopefully end up looking kind of mixed race. So to start, what we need to do, so first I should say I've chosen these faces, and I haven't put this work in the video, but a lot of work goes into choosing the faces. So essentially we need to choose faces where the heads are similar size, and the key thing is really the hair and the ears. The hair and the ears need to look reasonably similar for this process to work. We've got a lot of faces to work with. I'm just going to use for this project faces from the Chicago face database, but there's a lot of Asian faces and a lot of white faces, so you can find pairs of targets that have reasonably similar hairstyles. Obviously, these hairstyles are different. This guy's hair is sort of slicked back. This guy's hair is kind of, some of it is just coming forward. I think that should be okay. Like, we will see. Until you actually put them in the face morphing program, um, you won't totally know what's going to happen. But based on my experience, I think that these hairstyles will be similar enough for this to work pretty well. So let's get started. So these photos are both on my desktop. The first thing I'm going to do is open them up in Photoshop. So I'm just going to go open with Photoshop and just wait for it to open. Okay, great. So it's in Photoshop, and if you look over here, these are our layers. So you see that there's this lock there. So to unlock it, you just go duplicate layer, just press OK. And now I've got this background copy, which is not locked, so I can work with it. So now I'll just open up the other photo as well. Okay, great. And I'll duplicate this layer as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is select this entire image. I used the lasso tool for that and just clicked and traced around the whole image. Select the whole image, and now I'm going to select it by clicking on this arrow tool and just copy it by pressing Command C. And then if I go over here to this image and press Command V, I've pasted the Asian guy's face on top of the white guy's face. So the first thing I want to do is just line them up so that they're perfectly on top of each other. So the easiest way to do this is just to change the opacity of the top layer and then just shift it if it needs any shifting. So you see, I just want to get those eyes, and you can drag it around. You can also, if for small changes, just use the arrow keys. So now I'm just pressing the arrow keys. Okay, this is okay. It looks like, if I take the opacity down again, it looks like their chins are pretty well lined up. The white guy's face is slightly longer. So all I'm going to do is make a slight alteration by selecting the top layer, the Asian layer, pressing Command T, and then just ever so slightly stretching him up and maybe even out just a little bit, just to get the. And at this point, it doesn't have to be exact, like it really doesn't. But you just want them to lay over each other and be about the same shape as well as you can. So to finish this, what's called transforming, I hit return, and that change is saved. And if I go back to the opacity to 100, then he's back. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is make their necks and shirts identical. I was, you know, through trial and error, I've kind of realized that this process works a lot better if you just put the heads on the same neck. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to. They have quite different color skin too, so we don't want to we don't want to just copy somebody's head and put it on the other guy's neck. What we really want to do is um, sort of shape this guy's neck. We do want to delete his shirt completely, but we want to shape his neck so it sort of fits into the other guy's neck in a way. So you'll see what I mean in a second. Okay, so this guy, it looks like he has a bit of a broader neck. We may even want to. I think it should be fine. I'm going to go with this neck. The reason being, the Asian guy has a bit of a nice cleaner line here. Although I guess that doesn't matter so much. I just don't want to have to worry too much about editing this guy. I think it'll be easier to edit this one. We have some nice kind of clean color here. And yeah, you'll see what I mean. Anyway, so if I... Essentially, the first step here is I want to select this guy's neck. So any sort of skin area, and you can use this magic wand tool. Sometimes it helps, sometimes not so much. See there, it didn't. It's kind of like a fast selection tool, and it can help you. Often it won't help you that much though, because it's just not exact enough to get exactly the area that you want. So I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use the lasso tool. Just clicking deselects the area. And I'm just going to zoom in and select the whole neck region. So that's going to be like there. Okay, so you can have multiple tries at selecting. So like now I've selected this area, and I can add to the selection by pressing Shift. So now that I've got Shift pressed, I can select here. Just trace around. Now this is the part that I find when I give RAs editing tasks, this is the part that I find people are not always good at, is making these selections. And often I think people just rush and they make quite inexact selections, and it leads to some pretty bad looking photoshopping in general. So I think it'll be okay if I just don't worry too much about the face, but just select the neck. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what's called the stamp and clone tool to essentially just change this guy's neck. So if I zoom out a bit, you can sort of see. Now I don't want to change anything about his face, right? I really want to deselect that part of the face and just have this other area selected that I'm going to sort of fill in with neck flesh in a way. So you press Alt, so I've still got the lasso tool. You press Alt on your keyboard, and now if I select from his face, again, just trying to be as careful as possible. I've got this area selected. I am slightly concerned about how sort of lopsided it is, but we'll see what happens. We can always start again. Let's see. Okay, so now I've selected this tool. This is called the clone stamp tool. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. And probably the hardness I'm going to go up a bit. Because essentially what this tool is going to do is it's going to select a region of this neck, only the selected region, and then it's going to let me sort of color in with what I've selected, color in further regions. And if we wanted to go a bit faster, we could make it larger. The risk of making it larger is that the more you select, the more likely it is that the color will change, right, substantially in the region you've selected. And that can lead to sort of it looking not very convincing when you have, like for example, that one. See what happened just there? It looks a bit blotchy. So I'm just going to Command Z and undo that one, and just go a bit more slowly and carefully, just to get this neck the right shape. Alright, I think we're all good down here. His neck stretches fine just there. I don't want that t-shirt there, so I'm just going to make sure this neck is... Oops, that doesn't look good. Actually, the last few didn't look good. You can always go to history to go back. Let's make it small. And I should say, yeah, to use this, I don't know if I said this before, but you need to press Alt to select. And then once you've selected, you just move and click to stamp. Every so often, yeah, the computer might stall like this. I find Photoshop is pretty good. Not too many, it won't crash often. Okay. So that looks fine. If you zoom out, you can't really tell that there's anything wrong. And I'm not so worried about the lopsidedness either. I think it's probably fine. All right. So now we've got his neck. It doesn't fit the shirt, right? Obviously. So what we want to do is, I actually don't want to deselect. So I'm going to go back over to the history, go back to that last clone stamp. I still have this selection. What's the best way to do this? I guess one thing I can do here is just go Command C. So I've just copied this neck, and now I'm just going to paste it. And now it's on its own. It's on its own layer after I've done that pasting, which is fine. That's kind of what I want. So now I just want to really get rid of his shirt. So it's all still on this layer. And once I get rid of it, you'll see that he kind of lines up well because we've copied this neck shape. It lines up well with the other guy's shirt. So given that the neck is just floating there and we don't have to worry about it, this is going to be quite easy. We can just kind of select this whole area and just cut it by going Command X. So now you see we're pretty much done. So like we've now got his neck pretty much identical with his neck, and then now the shirt is exactly the same. So when they morph, all that's going to morph is really sort of the face and also the color of the neck is going to morph. But the shirt is going to remain pretty much exactly the same. So I need to save these so I can put them into the morphing software. So to do that, just go File, Save As, probably save as JPEGs. I think PNGs probably work fine. And then I'm just going to go, copy is fine. So copy is not fine because it's already called copy. So I'm just going to go ready, select JPEG, and then just save it. And I guess the maximum quality. And now to save the other one, all I need to do is deselect those layers. So I'm looking at him and just save him. Save as. Yeah, I gave the other one the wrong name. I really should have called it the Asian guy. So it's fine though. It doesn't matter as long as you keep track of what you're doing. I'll just say white guy ready, and change to JPEG and save. Okay, so I might just stop it there to avoid these videos getting to be too enormous. But yeah, and so now we've got these guys and they're pretty much ready to be morphed because they have the same neck. All right, in the next video, I'll show you how to actually make the morphs. Okay.